Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I'm Maddie Grace Webben.
And I'm Trish.
And today we'll be discussing the next part of Persona 2 Innocent Sin. I have no idea how many episodes it's been. Yeah, we're doing the more part. And this will cover everything up until the airship crashes. So that's fun.
The Maya section.
Yeah. Maya's episode. Before we get to all of that, though, I need to issue a clarification on last week. Last week, I said I'm sick, but it's not the big sick, but it still sucks. We got the email like the next day that it was indeed the big sick. The tiniest sliver, because Summer went out to dinner with her best friend at the tail end of April, whenever that was, and only time she's been out of the house forever. She was masked except for when eating, but the except for when eating was enough, and someone there was contagious and got us all the big sick, and it sucked. But thank God for contact tracing. I'm glad that it's still being done enough that it could tell us so that we could stay home and potentially save lives. But it was a shitty week. But besides my week, how is everyone else's week?
Not super great. My brain hasn't been working very well recently. But I saw a doctor about it. I saw a medical professional, and we're going to try some stuff.
Very, very good. I also had a rough brain. I mean, as I mentioned last week, I was recovering from bullshit. And I wasn't quite done yet, so I had to do some more of that, and then my brain wasn't working super great, but I'm getting back on top of things. I had let's say one really good thing and one really bad thing this week. The really good thing was that, it's actually mixed. The really good thing was that shout outs to the teachers and other rank and file members of the Unite Summit Schools Union who ratified their contract, or at least got a really good contract offered literally like yesterday, which is awesome. Great for them. Great job. These are the guys I mentioned like 3 weeks ago as being like, hey, this is going to happen, and I was honestly probably going to want to ask if I could use a second to make a fundraising pitch, but it turns out we don't need to. So that's great. Although it's also always a little bit of a bummer when a lot of people are getting really excited to do something and then the thing doesn't end up having to happen. It's like, oh, I guess that fundraiser we were planning isn't gonna happen because they don't need a fundraiser now because we're done. It's kind of like, well, we're already here. What? Just metaphorically, just milling around, being like, well, but very, very cool though. Very, very good for them. Which means we all get to move on to the next thing, which is good because there's too many things going on at once. On the other hand, one of my dearest, most sweetest friends, got dumped by another one of my dear friends, which is very, very rough. So it's always hard when a breakup happens. It's even more hard when you are very close to both sides of it, but not so close to both sides of it that you're not mad at one of them more than the other. Yeah, so I gotta put on my friendship hat and make sure that I'm being a good friend to the person in a time of extreme need, which is something I'm more than willing to do. But also, not only is it a lot of work, it's also not emotionally good for fun for me either. I'm totally heartbroken about the whole situation. So yeah, it's not fun. It's not the best thing. So yeah, one good thing, one bad thing. Brain is working. Medium quality. Maybe I'll do something to make that better in the future. And I got some very interesting potential news that I want. 2 pieces of very, very potentially amazing news that I won't share. Not related to my job, though, so don't worry if you were thinking that. I'll share it if it happens.
Cool.
Can we do one of those Ko-Fi goal things to get Maddie Grace a new chair?
It's probably more squeaky than usual because we removed the rug from this room, so now there's no rug on the floor, so it probably is more acousticy than it was before. Sorry.
It's not your fault. You dance with the chairs.
Get up.
That
No,
brought you.
it's
What about you, Trish? How was your week?
Seems like it's bad weeks for everyone all around. I'll also go with a bad thing and a good thing. I'll start with the bad thing so we can end it on a positive note. A couple days ago at my work, I work at a hotel. I'm the night person at a hotel. I got harassed with homophobic and transphobic remarks and threatened by a guest physically in person, and that was really harrowing and messed up and kind of fucked up the whole night.
Yeah.
Still kind of got shaken from that. Good news. I have jumped back into replaying one of my childhood favorites, Dragon Warrior Monsters, which is an absolute classic. And if people have not played, if you love Pokemon and you have not tried Dragon Warrior Monsters for the Game Boy Color, you should. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I'm not going to say it's better than those games. It's just, it's like comparing Pokemon Digimon. Is one better than the other? They're just very different.
it's a completely different vibe.
It's a completely different vibe. It is so fun. It's very fun. Being able to play it on an emulator and turn on super fast mode whenever you need it is nice. It's just fun. I'm just enjoying that. That has been a good way to turn my brain off when I need that in a rough week.
Nice.
I want to play that video game.
Also, just friendly note for people going to a hotel. Please be quiet at night. Please be quiet at night. I don't feel like I should have to say that, but apparently I do.
Did Discord pick that up at all?
Pick what up?
What?
I'm guessing not. So I actually, the only Game Boy original game that I own right now is Dragon Warrior Monsters. So while Trish was talking, I turned it on and went to the title screen to play it. But Discord's sound sampling undo or noise suppression, that's the words, is so good it never even turned my thingy green. But
Oh, I love the opening thing to it. It's so gorgeous.
yeah.
Yeah, I only played that game a little bit. Even though I'm the biggest Dragon Quest nut like in the world, I haven't played the Monster series very much. I played a little bit of it in college because a friend had Monsters 1 and 2, I think, and I played just a bit of it, enough to know that it owns. But my main memory is like, man, it's got some, it's got great graphics, which means it's a great game.
Yeah, I want to get more into the Dragon Quest games. I've played through most of 5, and I really loved 5. And then thanks to the Switch, I recently went back and played through 1 all the way. And honestly, I don't know if this is heresy to say, but I think Dragon Quest 1 is a better video game than Final Fantasy 1.
Oh, it definitely
It's
is.
about 1,000,000 times better, on account of it's good and not bad.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one who has that opinion.
Final Fantasy 1 is not even good. Look, Final Fantasy, love the series. Endless, deep love and appreciation. Took them 4 tries to make a good one, okay?
Yeah.
2 gets an honorable mention for being kind of awesome, but also it's not really that good.
I have a lot of affection for Final Fantasy 2, even though I will say it is not good, but I enjoy it.
But the first one that's like good is 4. Like, let's be real.
And then 5
here.
is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're in good company here. That's the correct opinion. Although I am sorry that you had to play Dragon Quest 1 with that awful pixel smoothing, but on the Switch version, which made me very mad and annoyed.
It wasn't great.
Looks like total bullshit. I mean, the game's brilliant no matter what, you know? Like, that's like saying that the graphics are bad, saying that they fucked up the graphics in Dragon Quest game it's almost like saying that they fucked up like the typesetting in Moby Dick. Like, yeah, it sucks, but it's about the architecture of the thing. It's about the form. Like, it's a shame. But if all other versions of Dragon Quest I were erased from the world, I would gladly play the Switch version with the stupid pixel smoothing.
Yeah. But I would read Moby Dick and Jokerman, and I would play Dragon Quest on Switch.
Speaking of Jokerman,
Damn it, that's good. But
that's a good segue.
That was such a good one, but I have other things I wanted to say. So dang it, I'm sorry, Bernard. I stole this from you. So we were all doing a good and a bad, and I only did my bad. So I was going to do my good.
Acknowledge the good joke and the good transition that segue that Bernard did, while we don't actually use it as a segue.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm very upset, but I hope this makes up for it. So you guys know how I famously don't interact with any mechanic in any video game that I've ever played?
Yeah.
Yes.
So for the last year and 2 months, I've been playing Atelier Ryza Ryza 2 for the PS5, because when I got my PS5, I wanted a JRPG to go with it, and it was a coin flip of the two available, of Yakuza 7 and Ryza 2. And I ended up going with Ryza 2 because it seemed more chill vibes, and that seemed like a lot of fun. And so I've been chilling with it for a year, and I found out 3 days ago that I had just completely not understood the crafting system at all. So the game has a skill tree, which is a sphere grid type, where you can go off and do all the things, and that includes some recipes. So because it includes some recipes, I thought that was all recipes. And so when I wasn't getting new bombs or any armor or any weapons, I just thought I hadn't gotten that far yet. But then I got 4 of your world map only has room for 6 dungeons, and I had gotten through 4 of them, and I'm like, surely I'm doing something wrong. And so I was looking up, because as from the very beginning of the game, I had a quest where they needed a particular item, and I had never even come across how to do it. So I looked it up, and they were like, oh, you need to get such and such material, or you can just do morphing. I forget what they call it. You could do morphing on this, and this to unlock the recipe where you can craft your own. And I'm like, wait, what now? So every single thing has a when you go into craft, it brings up a diagram of how you craft. On almost every single one, there's one marked recipe, and if you put the right crafting item into where it says recipe, the whole diagram changes into the recipe for the other one, and then when you create that item for the first time, that way you then unlock the recipe. And so it's that, and the sad part is that basically is how all of the crafting in every other Atelier game that I've dabbled in works. But because this one gave me some things in the sphere grid, I thought that all bets were off, and that's where everything was. I didn't even think to do it, because all of the diagrams have an auto button, but the auto buttons will never unlock the recipes. You have to do it yourself. And so I just fucked the whole thing up. And now that I understand it, I've been having a whole lot of fun crafting for the past 2 days, but it's the game was just vibes, and that was fine for a whole year. And now I find out it's vibes with a really good game and a really deep crafting system on top of it. So nice. I really enjoying that game. I probably will go back and play the first one before I play other Atelier games, because it's real good. Big recommend.
Well, if we're all doing a bad and a good, my good is that I started playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 again, and it's awesome. Okay, speaking of Jokerman.
Nice. Yeah, one of my favorite things about Xenoblade Chronicles is all of the jokes that are in it.
Is the humor of the series good?
side note, there's a lot of like dick jokes, which is hilarious to be in a Nintendo game. But B, I was just trying to get the segue.
I know. I just felt I know almost nothing about that entire franchise, and I'm curious.
Yeah, the masterpieces. Except for one of them. Anyway, let's do the thing.
Yeah, let's do the thing. All right, Bernard, what happened this week?
Some stuff.
All right,
that's the recap.
So if you enjoyed what you heard, this is.
The gang heads to the internet cafe Double Slash to meet Yukino's friend Ellie. Together they deduce the area of the city where the next target is, but they're not able to pinpoint the building. That's up to you, the player. You find two possible targets, Smile Hirosaka or the Sakanoe building. The riddle mentions Smiles, so we go to Smile Hirosaka. Did anyone else go to the Sakanoe building?
I went to the correct building.
I did
gotta
not.
start doing dumb shit so I can be the one to do the dumb shit each week. I did not. I'll try to take responsibility on that next time.
All right. Just if the game lets you do something dumb, you can do it. And we'll tell you what happens when you do the right
I feel like I'm
thing.
usually the person who tries to do that. Such as the time when I did something dumb by playing an entire different version of
Lunar.
But no, I've been slacking. I'm listening. I hear you. You're valid. I'm gonna do growth. I'm gonna reduce harms. We're gonna do better.
I get what you mean, Maddie. In the Right Wednesday series I've been doing with Sam, aka the game professor, I purposely am like, I'm playing through the Ace Attorney games again. I'm just going to choose every wrong choice. I want to see what happens.
Nice.
So, in Smile Hirosaka, the gang finds the transmitter and the riddle, but are attacked by demons led by a young member of the Masked Circle named Ixquick. When the gang doesn't pay attention to her, she threatens to blow up the building with them inside, saying she doesn't care if she dies. Maya just snatches the transmitter from her, slaps her, and tells her to never treat death as a joke. We have a boss fight, and win! They leave Ixquick there unconscious. The new riddle directs them to a different part of town. It mentions El Dorado, so we go to a gym called Gold. The gang meets Maya's roommate, Ulala, there. When she hears
fantastic.
Yes. She's boxing when we meet her, and she's great. When Ulala hears about the bombs, she says some nonsense about some guy and runs off. And I'm like, okay. The gang finds the transmitter and riddle. A weird guy shows up, then runs away. The gang follows him. When they find him, he says he's there under the Queen's orders and he's going to do a boss fight with us. But then Ulala shows up and chases him out of the room, saying something about the wedding funds he stole. The gang senses that she's a Persona user. Since they're apparently not going to do a boss fight after all, the gang checks the riddle. It just says, come to the Aerospace Museum. The gang heads to the Aerospace Museum. When they get there, they find that there's a bunch of school kids there on a field trip. So they're about to try to evacuate them, but then Tadashi and Tamaki show up in fucking Zorro outfits with swords and everything, and they shout some generic Saturday morning cartoon hero lines and jump off a plane. Tadashi gets owned by the fall, but says, "You can deceive society, but you don't fool me. We already know you're the Führer's minions." Tamaki apologizes and says Tadashi bought the nonsense that some lady named Okamura was spouting back at the agency, and there's no way the gang is Führer minions. It's not clear why Tamaki went along with this. Maybe she just really wanted to wear a Zorro outfit. King Leo's voice echoes through the room, welcoming the cursed star. The doors catch on fire and Maya starts panicking. King Leo says, "Each floor of this aerospace museum has a trap that will ignite after a certain amount of time, starting with the lowest floor." Maya pulls herself together and tells the gang they need to find any kids still in the building and get them to the roof. During this, they find Ixquick stranded on an airplane hanging from the ceiling. Maya says she'll jump down to her from the catwalk, and the others can lower a rope for them. It's not clear why Maya needs to jump down. But she does jump down, and the gang lowers a rope, and they pull up Ixquick. They then lower the rope to Maya. But as they're pulling her up, the rope snaps. Maya falls. Totinos reaches out to her, and his Persona's hand extends from his own, almost reaching Maya. A young man stands in front of a burning building, holding a knife. A young Totinos is face down on the ground. A schoolgirl calls out to him from inside the building. The man laughs, and the schoolgirl tells Totinos to run. A Persona appears from Totinos and sets the man on fire. Back in the museum, Totinos was able to rescue Maya in time. Ixquick cries and hugs Maya, overcome by the horrifying experience they share. Maya comforts her and tells her to get to the roof. She runs off, and the gang continues searching for school kids to evacuate. When they get to the roof, they find Tadashi and Tamaki trying to fight King Leo, but he owns them. King Leo says he expected us, and the cursed star, who I'm guessing is Totinos?
I think so.
Might be Maya? Probably not Aikichi.
Mm-mm.
Ixquick runs up and asks why he set the place on fire. Was he trying to kill her? He takes her hostage and rips off his mask. He is recognizable as the man with the knife from the flashback, except half his face is terribly burned. The UI reveals his name as Tatsuya Sudo. Now, that's the default name for the protagonist.
Oh, I didn't know that. My guess was an ironic joke. Wow.
Interestingly, his name is not Totinos DiGiorno.
Yeah.
It also was not Cloud Strife.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, wow. They turned out if you change your name, you don't get that there's something weird going on here.
Unless you remember that
Yeah.
But yeah, that's weird. But anyway.
So the main character is Tatsuya Suo. There's no D.
Yeah.
It's just a very similar name.
So in my version of the game, he should be called Tatsuya Didorno.
Yeah.
In mine, he should be called Tatsuya.
Or Totino's Didorno, I mean.
In mine, he should be Cloud
Stride.
Strive. Guilty Gear Monster Hunter 4 Strive.
Tatsuya points at Maya and says, "You witch, I won't listen to you tell me you've forgotten this face. It's you and your brat friend who did this to me." Maya's like, "Me and Totinos? Look, nothing in this game has any context, so I don't really know." Tatsuya says not to feign ignorance, and it's been very entertaining watching you scurry around, but the transmitters he found weren't the only ones. He detonates the bombs. Smile, Hirosaka, and Gold blow up. Back on the roof, Tatsuya says, "If you had died on that day, he wouldn't have to go through this. It's all the witch's fault for spreading misfortune. I refuse to wait until the end of Nahui Olin. Burn to ashes here, as befits a witch like you." Maya's like, "Just tell us what the fuck any of this means. What does Joker want?"
Seriously.
Tatsuya says, "The fulfillment of the Oracle of Maya, what the Exalted One truly desires, is the means to sublimate mankind to the Idealians. When the Holy Cross forms in the sky, hell will climb to the heavens. Our one chance in 15,000 years is nearly upon us. From that day forth, we members of the new race will be close to gods. This rotten world will be obliterated. This game has everything."
Well, now it all makes perfect sense. Thank you, game, for explaining it.
This when I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion I coined the term philosophabble, which is like technobabble, but with philosophical terms.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this feels like. Every time the villains talk about their plan, I'm like, it washes over me, and I'm like, oh, all right then. Those were words, I guess.
I'm like, so true, bestie.
When I play the game, I'm just like, sure, yeah, okay. And then Bernard will read word for word. I'm like, no one said that. That's not in the game that I played, but it's just because I cannot grasp it while actually playing it.
You cannot grasp its true form.
Maya demands that Tatsuya tell them who Joker is. He says, "You still do not remember? Humans take so readily to extremes, it's only natural that the memory of Maya has been lost. The Exalted One's face beneath the mask is as beautiful as a goddess. I have my orders from the Exalted One to take revenge on you who have hindered our progress. Remember that summer day 10 years ago, a message from the Exalted One." He throws a flower at Totino's. The message seems to mean something to Lisa. Tatsuya makes to leave, but Lisa asks if Joker is Big Sis. Before he can answer, or, let's be real, dodge the question, the floor collapses under Tatsuya and he falls. Ixquick catches the ledge and Maya helps her up.
Y'all, the government's really in the pocket of Big Sis right now.
So,
I don't have any more riff to do, just go on.
one thing about this game is that the roof of the Aerospace Museum has a restaurant built into a blimp on the roof. And apparently, due to rumor nonsense, the blimp is operational. We probably could have found this out from NPCs, but I didn't, because I was in a hurry because there were bombs.
I talked to every single NPC. I don't think that I noted any lines from this segment as memorable moments, though. It's a little, man. This game is getting to the point where I honestly really like all the NPC dialogue so much that I don't remember any of it anymore because none of it stands out. It's just all really great writing. So unfortunately, I don't remember any of these, but I talked to all of them, and yes, they do essentially explain that stuff in their characterful, well-written, rich, charming way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the dialogue's just really good in this game.
Which, again, ironically means I've been talking about it less.
So the gang herds the school kids into the blimp. Maya is like, y'all, I can totally fly a blimp. She flies the blimp away from the building, but as they fly past the coast, the blimp catches fire. Oops. The gang senses that King Leo is aboard, and they rush out of the control room. They send Tamaki and Tadashi back to take care of the controls while they kick Tatsuya's ass. He says, "The pain, it hurts, damn it. You goddamn brats, you did it to me again. You, and that woman too, and the goddamn dad of mine who locked me up in the frickin' mountains. I'll kill you all. It's everyone else's fault for not accepting me. I won't be my dad's frickin' puppet. I'll leave however the hell I want." And I do want to note, he says I'll leave, as in depart however the hell I want. Not live however the hell he wants. I wasn't just saying it with a weird accent. It would make more sense to say he'll live however he wants, but nothing in this game makes sense, so who cares? Anyway, he spouts some generic, offensive, insane bad guy stuff and does a boss battle with us. We win! Tatsuya says, "Goddamn brat, always getting in my way. Because you were there that day, my life was ruined." Maya demands he tell them who Joker is, but at this point he is dead or unconscious. Tamaki and Tadashi confirm that the blimp is not working, so the gang decides to grab the children and jump in the ocean.
The rational, sane idea.
They do not die.
Oh, thank God.
They wash up on the shore. Ixquick, whom the UI now identifies as Akari, even though she does not reintroduce herself as such, runs up to Maya and apologizes for trying to kill them and stuff. Maya says, "No worries. Just promise me one thing. Never throw away your life like you almost did before. And if you have a dream you want to chase, you can't follow it on someone else's steam. Whether it comes true all depends on you." Akari says she wants to be a manga artist, and that she's going to chase that dream and write a manga about Maya and her friends. Maya asks Lisa what she meant when she asked King Leo if Joker was Big Sis. Lisa's like, "You're hearing things, lady." Yukino suggests the gang go to the detective agency and talk to Okamura if she's still there. But then, Maya gets a phone call. Her 1998-ass cell phone survived a swim in the ocean. It's Ulala, who says the gang is wanted as terrorists behind the bombings. Apparently, this too is the result of a rumor. Aikichi says, "What the hell, man? We put ourselves through the ringer stopping those bombings. How dare they treat us like the culprits?" Which I mentioned just because I want to point out that they did not, in fact, stop a single bombing.
They're really bad in general in this game at stopping bad things from happening before they happen.
They did evacuate people from the places, and hopefully people didn't go back in after the places didn't blow up, but they did not, in fact, stop the property damage, at least. And that's what really matters.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is America. I mean, Japan.
Maya enlists the school kids to spread a counter rumor that the gang is not, in fact, a bunch of masked circle terrorists. The gang decides to head to the detective agency. Aikichi, in a rare moment of intelligence, says they should split up to avoid getting caught. The gang goes their separate ways, but Lisa chases after Totino's. She insists on going with him.
And that's it.
So next week we'll go to the detective agency and maybe we'll have at least one question answered.
No.
Maybe.
Remember, this game is 2 games. We're only going to get questions for this entire first game. Ryan has to go and answer all the questions in the second game.
Well, no, we're not going to get any questions until we get to Persona 3, The Answer. It's a lot, I know.
I was going to make a Higurashi joke, but that was good.
So, yeah, let's listen to some more Persona 2 music, and then we'll talk about our memorable moments. What do you guys have for some Mim-Moms?
Mim-Moms. Should I talk about what I liked first or what I didn't like first?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll go don't like. Again, I went and checked up on those 2 trans characters.
Oh,
How
no.
did that go?
Well, their names changed. They're now both masked circle members or something to that effect. Because apparently they're both in the masked circle.
Mm.
The trans man talks about how happy he is about the bombings because he wants to see this city burn.
Oh.
And the trans woman talks about how... Remember before where she was just like, oh, well, my soul is a woman's even though I'm a man. And it was like, oh, hey, at least you didn't do the thing that happened with the trans man where you tried to have an explanation. Ha ha. This time she says, oh, well, I'm a trans woman. I wanted to become a woman because I like men. And then she said something about how if no man is...
That's the only way.
If no man likes her, then she's going to castrate every man out of anger. Just on the only good side, Aikichi is correctly gendering her now, so that's good.
Well, that's good.
I'm going to give Aikichi a small
So basically, the character in the game is being more respectful than the writers of the game, which is kind of funny.
point. Yes. Positives though, because I want to talk about positives because I liked a lot of stuff this week. I freaking love Ixquick / Akari. She is just so fun. She's such a silly, fun character, and the demon who's with her in that fight. Just a lot of fun with that. The fact that the background in that boss battle is just floating toilets because you're in a
Yes, it
bathroom.
happens in a restroom, yes. And the demon is Belphegor, who usually in Shin Megami Tensei games is depicted as sitting on a floating toilet.
That's wonderful. I'm very happy about that. There's a whole thing in the gym where apparently the place is just booby trapped. And like you can go into a room and then a dumbbell will fall and almost hit Maya. And your main character will save her.
That was one of my favorite bits as well.
And then there's a bit where you go into a room and a full weightlifting machine hits Aikichi on the head and you don't do anything to save him.
And he does not die instantly.
No, he doesn't. He gets really sad that you didn't do anything to help.
See, this game understands what the later games don't understand, I think, quite enough. And by later games, I mean specifically... well, I don't actually remember Persona 5 well enough to know, but, with the wonderful Junpei, who we all love, and the lovely, the Junpei in Persona 4, like, they're shitheads. And Junpei managed to be a lovable shithead regardless, but the thing is, when you have a character who sucks like that, the reason they suck is so that we can laugh when they get owned. But if you forget to make sure they get owned constantly, then you've defeated the point, right? Yeah, so this game gets...
I agree. I actually really liked some of the thematic stuff this section got into. The entire thing between Ixquick and Maya, I thought actually used the premise of this game in an interesting way. Namely, this kind of thing about Ixquick being this kind of person who's like, yeah, I'm doing this thing so I can live out my ideal, and I'll probably the organization working for will kill me, and who cares as long as I get my dream. And Maya being like, hey, your life is important and valuable, and maybe you should value it more. And I don't know, I thought that was fairly well done, and it really helped kind of solidify that feeling that Maya, despite being kind of immature at times, is a very mature person in an emotional way, and
totally
is able to be the adult in the room in these situations in a way that felt really good. And I felt like that was that felt like a earned little moment that I enjoyed quite a bit. What did everyone else think was memorable?
I liked the scene where you get to Gold Gym, I think, and I only remember the line, unfortunately. I thought I took a screenshot, but I guess it didn't work. Whatever, you get to Gold's Gym, and basically you get there, and Ulala's like, they're like, all right, here we are, let's do it. And Ulala's like, wait, there's a bomb here? Maya, can you explain it one more time? And she's like, there's I will not. We are in a hurry. And then she does explain it again. Anyway, which is funny, but yeah, I don't actually think Ulala, I couldn't tell where they were trying, what kind of character she is exactly. Like, she's kind of like she's really strong, but kind of dumb, because when people are strong, they're, you got, this is an RPG. Obviously, you can't have stats in strength and int. Because that's how it is in real life too. But that's why I'm getting dumber by the day, because of these muscles. But no, they're kind of doing that with her, but not a whole lot. So this line was relatively early on, so I was like, oh, this is really going with her. And they don't really follow up. Like, there aren't subsequent bits where she's like that. Which I think is a little funny. Maybe there will be more later. But in a vacuum, very, very funny little scene. Even if, in terms of broader characterization, I'm a little bit confused by it. It's just a very blatant and ham-fisted way to make sure the player understands something, but in a way that also, again, like this game does consistently do, just constantly characterizes people in tiny, cute little moments. And this could be giving the game too much credit, but also I don't care how much credit I'm giving the game. The game is not a person. I think that a lot of the time, in real life, look, it's funny that we give people so much shit about like consistent characterization in fictional narratives. When have you seen actual people?
Yeah.
they're not consistent characters at all. We are all very, very inconsistent and incoherent beings. So that's why sometimes I feel like this game is like, all right, did the writing get away from them, or is this actually just a more naturalistic characterization than I'm used to in these kind of games, right? Where it's like each character has their bit and they never deviate from it. Almost like having almost like when animated shows have like their what do you call it? Like the rules about how you draw the characters.
On model, off model.
Yeah, or just like the model guide, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like so you always got to be on model with characterization. It's like, I don't know, man. This messy writing, if you do it right, either correctly or if you do it right, either on purpose or on accident, it can just make them feel like real people who say dumb shit sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I like that one line a lot, and I thought about it quite a bit, and I am going to be paying attention to see if there's more of that kind of thing in the future, or if it was just a funny little one-off.
Speaking of ham-fisted ways to make sure that the reader understands things, is because this is a low fidelity game, we only get a handful of pixels to do expressions. We can't tell that Ixquick's costume is handmade and fake, whereas everyone else is magical and from Joker. So before, when she walks out, we have no idea, no way to tell. So the UI helpfully says that she's just a crazed cosplayer, and that we shouldn't take her seriously. So then the scene progresses where now we have this information, so that when everyone ignores her and Maya treats her like a little kid, it makes a whole lot of sense. But I loved that he walks out. I'm like, oh, who's this? They look super awesome, and it's like, don't take her seriously. She's just a cosplayer. And then another one that I loved is when you go to save all the kids, they're all hiding in some exhibit hall, and the first one you go in, Maya tells all the kids they got to go to the roof, and then the second one, Ginkgo's like, you got to go to the roof, and then Eikichi's like, guys, you got to go to the roof, and then Totino's walks in and says, and the kids nod and walk to the roof, and Eikichi's like, did those kids just run off because your glare freaked them out? You should have said something to call them down. Yeah, he's like, no, he doesn't have to. He's a silent protagonist. He could just say an ellipsis and the kids understand.
I like Aikichi getting hit in the head with a muscle machine and instantly dying.
I mean, I enjoyed it too. All I could think of at the time was like, after the stuff you said about Cozy, I have no sympathy.
I found it very strange how they handled the part where Maya spreads the counter rumor, because they're like, oh no, the rumor might come true and we really will be part of the mass circle. And Maya's like, aha, I have an idea. And then it shows her talking to everyone. And then she walks over and Yukino's like, you told them to spread a counter rumor to do this, right? And I'm like, why didn't you just have Maya say, oh, I have an idea, I'll spread a counter rumor. And then she goes and does that. Why did you put it in this weird backwards order?
Because. Yeah, anyone have anything else to say? It's a fairly short episode today.
It was mostly dungeons.
Mine were just the one I already said, and also Aikichi getting owned. I should have known when that happened. I should have been like, wait a second. It's like that game, what's that game's categories?
Yeah.
Where everyone has to think of a thing, but you have to think of something that no one else thought of.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't get if two people think of the same thing, then neither person gets a point. I should have obviously been like, wait a second. Everyone's going to want to talk about Aikichi getting up. I should think of something else to talk about.
Actually, I think I do have one other thing. Just that the first of the dungeons of this session, the smile place, I detested it. I don't know why. It just felt like a labyrinth. It took me so long to figure. I was like, "What? I know there's one more party member I need to find. I'm looking at a guide.
Yeah.
What is going on?" It's like, "Oh, well, there's another set of stairs you can go down that takes you to a completely otherwise inaccessible part of the building, and that's how you get to Yukino." And it's like, why? Why is this game like this?
Yeah. Also, shout out to this guide for being the only one for this game, but unshout out to this guide for being a really bad guide. It's bad. I probably did worse off because I was following the guide this week.
I'm glad I haven't found much need for the guide. When I was trying to get an all 108 Stars of Destiny playthrough of Suikoden 2, I got so frustrated I was legitimately tempted to make a new guide and do it right.
Yeah. That's the thing that stinks about playing old RPGs is they're from the heydays of when guides were great on game sages, etc. But they also were before people could easily edit things or comment on things that things are wrong or bad or create their own alternatives, etc., etc. And so you frequently find ones that suck real bad, especially for games that aren't Final Fantasy VII. But if you want us to play games that aren't Final Fantasy VII, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate to unlock the ability to vote on our polls, so that we can you can tell us what games we should play next. We are quite a ways off from our next vote because we're playing 2 games back to back with Persona 2 Duology. But if you do decide to go and donate, you will also get access to the Book Club no Kaseki episodes a month before everyone else. Bernard, remind me to actually post that episode we did like last week, but then I got COVID and forgot to post it. So yeah, you can get Book Club no Kaseki a month before everyone else, and you also will get your text will turn green in the Discord if you choose to come and hang out with us over there. You can get all of that for $1 a month. And then if you upgrade to the $5 a month tier, we will read your name at the end of every episode, much like we're doing right now. So shout outs to Cerebral Wind and shout outs to Anthony Lerma and Vin K and Jfro Prime, Eli Bergmas, Doho, and Tuxedo Ken. And then if you really love us and want to help out a whole bunch, you can up your donation to $20 a month, where we will not only read your name, but we will also give a shout out to whatever you want us to. Our current and only luminary is Carr, who is a dentist, and he wants to remind you to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, right before bedtime. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I'm Maddie Grace Webben.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Goodbye, everybody.